Here is an interesting strategy when it comes to buying hunting land. I'm talking with Shane Albert and his strategy of buying land with a house on it with the ability to improve the house and potentially sell the parcel with the house as a turnkey farmette to rent out the house or do short-term rentals with Airbnb, all while hunting the property. I hope you guys enjoyed this clip. Here we go.
The piece you ended up buying is cool, and there's a cool story behind it. But as you were talking with your wife, in your mind, were you think like, man, usually most of these farmettes, they have a really crappy house on them that needs a lot of work, or they're really, really nice and we can't afford one anyways right now, and that's not what we want. Like, was that one of your thought processes? Like, how can I, basically at the end of the day, how can I create value so when we walk away from this, we make a little bit of money, hopefully?
Yeah, 100%. And that's exactly right. So with me buying houses, I really do like that aspect of real estate too. So I look at a house and a house that's for sale, and I drive by and I say, oh man, that's got a nice roof on it. It's got new siding. It's, everything the windows look fairly new, stuff you can tell by driving by. You can check off a lot of boxes right off the bat. Whenever I'd start looking for land, there's a lot of search options out there that you can select, with or without a house. So I would start saying, well, what if I threw out the option of, what if I bought a 50-acre tract and it had a house on it, and I rent the house to help pay for the land? So I started kind of looking down that route, and I would find some of those options. And the house, like you said, the house a lot of times was just in, rundown shape. After looking at a bunch of them, we kind of settled on, we wanted either something that had some really good tillable income that would help make the payment. The main thing was we had to find some way to help make the payment, right? So we didn't want to strap ourselves from my day job or any of my wife's income. We didn't want that to just be gone on a piece of ground that we might not get a return on right away. So we decided on something that if we can find something with a structure on it, or maybe it had just a massive amount of timber value on it to where maybe you could cut that early on and help make the payment, make the down payment. We looked at all those options, and more times than not, the more that were available were the ones with the houses. And we ended up coming across the one that we ended up buying. And I think it's really funny. I think I'll always remember. It's like I think you'll have to, maybe you can remember the dates exactly, but I think it was within like 2 weeks of me messaging you on Instagram,
Yeah.
sending you a few farms, and found this one. I drove by it first, and then you set up a meeting, and I think we were under contract within maybe 3 weeks of me contacting.
That's a record for sure. But I wanted to go look at it too, because everyone is looking to find a good deal, period. Like everyone wants to get a deal. Whether that's you finding unrealized value that other people can't. And I think that was the interesting thing with this parcel was it's a lot of those things we talk about. It was not on like the landwatch.com websites. I mean, I'm not going to rag on the agent, but it wasn't a really good listing. I mean, it was okay. I mean, yeah. I was pleasantly surprised when we went and looked at it. Like, well, the house really isn't as bad as it looked, maybe from pictures.
Wow, there wasn't a lot of pictures. It wasn't very many pictures.
Yeah. These buildings are a lot nicer than what I would have guessed. This pasture is pretty cool. That was the things that I recognized right away when we went and looked at it. When you went and walked at it, obviously you ended up buying it. What were the things that you really liked about it?
First thing was that stood out to me was location. And like I said, I drive a lot. So I know how convenient it is whenever something's right off an interstate. Yeah. And this parcel is about 2 miles off of the interstate, off a major interstate up here that runs from Chicago to the Quad Cities. Mm-hmm. So that was huge because the way we looked at it, whenever I first looked at it, walked it, I'm like, we liked it. In investments, probably number one, but we also looked at it as, we want to build a house or live in the country at some point. And so that's also in the back of our mind. So whenever I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to buy this and flip it, rent it, or live in it. That was kind of the three options whenever we went to walk it. But being right off of the interstate to two major, metropolitan areas in the United States, especially Illinois, was pretty huge no matter what we wanted to do with it, with whichever, route we went. So that was important. Like you had mentioned, there was 2 pole buildings on it that weren't really photographed really well to give you an idea how they were. But I mean, one of them was concrete. The other one's all steel, needs a floor in it. And other than that, I mean, they got electric. The house is a solid 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that was actually, a lot of the work was done already because it was already gutted, and it had some reframing done already. And it had been sitting for quite some time. There's a lot of mice in there and some old insulation that got wet, but it had a 5-year-old tin roof on it. It had all new windows within the last 5 years or so. It was basically a construction site that never got finished. And that was, to a lot of people, that would probably show up as a major red flag or a burden. But for me, it was a pro because there's a lot of work that goes into gutting a house and framing a house, and the electrical rough-in was done, and all that stuff is tough and expensive. But whenever you turn around and start putting it back together, that's where that's where my mind started turning, and half of that work was already done. So that was a big addition. And then it's a 20-acre perfect rectangle surrounded by farmland.
Yeah, when I walked it, I was like, man, I think you can probably whack a good deer off this, because it's just the way it was really rolling. Like that terrain's really rolling. There's not a lot of cover nearby, and then you have the back half of that is this overgrown cattle pasture, and I'm like, there's some opportunity there.
Yeah, it's in a good neighborhood. I mean, I know the neighborhood. I actually had a permission farm that was about 15 minutes from this place, so I know the neighborhood, and there's good deer in that neighborhood, and I knew that. Then whenever we walked to the back. I mean, like you said, it was probably a 30-year-old cattle farm that's just been growing and nobody's done anything with. So half of it was pretty thick timber, nasty bedding area. Nasty to most people, but nasty to us.
Gorgeous,
yeah.
Gorgeous.
And then the other half was open cattle pasture that had been overgrown. So it's a lot of grasses and small shrubs. And actually, I found a lot of beds up there this year whenever I hunted it. And I did not really expect to. But the way that I saw it, and whenever we walked it, we rattled off some things that we could do to improve both the land and the house. So, of course, I'm using your expertise to tell me, is there any timber value? Is there any what can we do for land improvement? And then I'm running through the house saying, no, this will cost about 10 grand. This will cost about 5 grand, and I'll have about X amount wrapped up into it. And then I think it'll be worth X amount at the end. By the time we got done with it, between what you thought on the land side and what I thought with the house, we kind of came up, we kind of said, this is kind of a no-brainer. There's really no way that I can lose money on this, even at the asking price.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. My name is Jake Hofer, and I'm a real estate agent out of the state of Illinois, and it's my goal to help 100 people buy their first farm. Been doing that with the Land Podcast and clips like this every single Thursday and Saturday that are released here on the channel. And to be one of those 100 people, all you have to do is, if you're in the state of Illinois and I can help you, I'd be happy to do so. Number 2, if you want to get connected with someone that can help you, reach out, and I'll be happy to get you in contact with an agent that I would personally do business with. And the last one is, if you just simply learn something from the content we're putting out, or you get inspired to take action, I want to know, get you out of that spreadsheet. I'm on a mission to help 100 people. Until next time, see ya.